the original Bimbo 3-ring circus audio upgrade. Right here is where I put the input for my 12 volt negative and my 12 volt positive, and what it's doing is it's feeding 12 volt negative and positive to both timers, the red wire and the black wire on each. I also read a 12 volt positive to help me run the switch that'll be for the coin mech, and then I also put 12 volt negative and positive for the step down that's going to convert 12 volts to 5 volts to help me run the MP3 and the amplifier. I first installed a GFI with a reset button in case of a power surge to run. The top cord is the original plug that went to the wall, and the bottom plug goes to my DC 12 volt to run the game. I set the two timers to the game play at 3 minutes, the song play at 5 because of the different lengths of music. You have to make sure that the song ends before the timer ends. Otherwise it'll keep repeating the same song. I made this little diagram to help me remember the placement of how I wired it up on this bridge setup here. Like my 9 and 10 spot is my DC negative and positive. Next to it is my 5 volt negative and positive out that it feeds to the in, negative and positive 5 volt in for the amp and the MP3, and then here I have my left, ground, and right for my speaker connections. Each trigger gets a white wire that when it touches 12 volts it will start the timer. Next to it is a red wire for 12 volt positive, and the black wire is 12 volt negative for each. Left, right stereo. Put it inside a plastic container from Pretzels. Faced them in. It's louder, more bass. I just used L brackets to hold it in place. I ran 5 volt positive to the MP3 and the amp, and on the negative I put it on the timer, these two brown wires. So when the coin goes in and triggers the timer to start, what will happen is it'll make these two wires touch, which will connect the ground, the 5 volt ground for the amp and the MP3, and when the timer runs out it will disconnect those two wires and the sound will stop. Now what I did is I cut the two wires off of the coin mech switch, and I took them and I ran them to my other timer, this yellow and brown. So when the coin goes in, it'll make these two touch and it'll make the game play. When the timer runs out, it would disconnect them and the game will end. Originally when the coin went in, it would trigger this one and keep it down, and then after the song ended, it would trigger this one and the game would stop. So what I did here is I added this little piece of credit card so that the contacts wouldn't touch. So now with it being ran to my timer, when the coin goes in it starts the timer and it holds this down, and then when the timer runs out the game will stop. To make the timer start, it needs like here I put 12 volts. So when the coin goes in it makes this one touch the trigger wire, which is this white wire that goes here, and that's what starts the timers. Coin goes in, makes these two touch, and it makes this white wire touch this red wire, 12 volt positive. The MP3 left, right, and ground wire go out to the input on the amp, and then from the amp they go over here, my left, ground, and right, and then the yellow wires go up to the top of the cabinet to the speakers.